One problem about consoles coming and going is there are possibilities and ambitions left unexplored, stones left unturned. Take the Game Boy Advance, for example. That console was irrelevant 20 years ago, and people are still continuing to push its boundaries. Imagine if, for one reason or another, the actual game developers had 20 more years to get to know the console, instead of just rogue programmers who take it up as a challenge. That's what the game we're going to be talking about today reminds me of, the possibilities of the 3DS that were never totally explored. Anyways, this is iStation Z, as you can tell from the title. It truly is a survival horror game for the 3DS, and unlike many other games on that console, it truly does stand alone in regards to gameplay, look, atmosphere, and concept. The fact that this game exists is so amazing yet so frustrating at the same time, as it has many shortcomings. This game truly does prove that the 3DS has potential far beyond what was explored during its time, potential that will likely never be actualized. You might wonder why that might be frustrating, and the reason why is because this game doesn't even come close to the potential it proved to exist. I know it's awfully pretentious of me to say, gee, I wish these guys worked harder on their game, but seriously, from a mechanical perspective, this game is dragging its feet compared to the visual and atmospheric leaps made by the developers. I suppose I'm rambling an awful lot for an intro, so let's jump into a playthrough and I'll explain the game along the way. The game starts off with this ominous title screen. You're prompted to choose between single player and multiplayer, and we choose single player. I'll talk about the multiplayer later. Right off the bat, you can tell that due to the limitations of the console, the developers settled for a very Silent Hill reminiscent aesthetic. Personally, I think it works pretty well for what the game is trying to achieve. Everything is washed out and undersaturated, and the fog helps to immerse you in the world. The draw distance is very far for a 3DS game in my opinion. Actually, the whole game doesn't really feel like a 3DS game. I don't know how to explain it, but 3DS games have a certain feel to them, and this game just feels kind of alien. It controls kind of alien too, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. The bottom screen looks like an early smartphone, and each facet of the GUI is represented by these app icons. Not a completely unique idea, but I think it works well enough, or at least it doesn't hold a flame to my other complaints. As we walk up to a pile of logs, we're prompted to gather wood. This triggers a minigame on the bottom screen that will negotiate how much wood we can get. The minigame is literally just Fruit Ninja, and there's nothing stopping you from just swiping your cursor or stylus on the bottom of the screen to guarantee you get every log. Just one question, why? Why do this? There is a whole ass pile of wood just sitting there, and you have to go play Fruit Ninja to pick it up. By the way, if you mess up, that's it. You walk your cold, starving self away from a literal pile of wood and are forced to proceed wandering through a cold forest. God, I mean, can't they at least make it make some sense? When this game came out, there was sufficient material to base the game off. There were many adequate survival games for PC and console that I'm sure this game was inspired by. Why was this, of all places, the time to take creative liberty? Anyways, we get the wood as the game was no good and start walking around. We find a bridge and we walk across it. After walking for a while, and I really do mean a while, we stumble upon a town and begin walking towards it. And walking, and walking. This is another thing about the game. For a game with quite little substance to it, as in there's not a whole lot to see here, they really do spread everything out. They really do make getting around take a while. It would be worse if the game didn't pull off the exploratory atmosphere as well as it does, but still, there would need to be something else for this to be justified. I mean, every time I started walking somewhere, I would walk forward with one hand and play a game of Sudoku with the other. I'm not even joking. I once got close to finishing a whole Sudoku between interesting events in this game, but I digress. We walk into the first house and take a look around. I feel like getting whatever engine they built this game on to work on the 3DS took a lot of work. Why did they not spend at least a little bit of time fleshing out the game world? Like I said before, the game is interesting, but it just falls short in almost every way possible. This is a good time to discuss what you'll see in most houses, or places of any real significance. A bed. A phone charger. Yes, that really is a phone charger, apparently. A furnace. And then a platform of some kind in a corner with some loot. I'm pretty sure the loot is randomly generated every time you play the game, which is pretty cool. Gotta give the game props for that. They made the game replayable. It may not be good, but at least you'll get a different shade of bad with each playthrough. One interesting thing is they actually put permadeath in the game. You don't get your stuff back when you die. Combine that with the RNG loot and the fact this game utilizes at least a teeny-weeny bit of skill, and you come close to a roguelike, except for the fact that the world map will always be the same. We get some of the loot from the table. It's probably just what you expect from a survival horror game. You've got food, water, and bandages. Spoiler alert, there's also weapons, matches, and fuel, amongst a few other things. We charge our phone, which makes us play yet another mini-game. It's pretty much a quick time event. Just tap once the bar gets to a certain point, and the closer you are, the better you do. This just decides how much you charge your phone. We get our goods and head back on our way, and that's really all you can do in this game. As far as progression goes too, it's pretty lackluster. I'd like to underscore the fact that each time I make a criticism of the game, it's out of my frustration with it falling utterly short of its potential. As we continue walking into the great expanse, we hear a sound. You can probably tell, there's a zombie. I don't currently have any weapons on me, so I just keep running. If a zombie sees you and you don't have anything to defend yourself, you're essentially hopeless. Even if you do have some stuff, you're sometimes hopeless. All you can do is bandage up after he hits you. Luckily, I did have some antiseptic, so I popped that and kept moving. We see what appears to be a submarine dock next to a house. What a strange island this is. What island, with this sparse of development, would have a submarine docked at its shore? The janky camera controls make it very difficult to make our way into the sub. I wish they would add at least a slight bit of graduality to the camera movements. That wouldn't be taxing on the 3DS, and it would make visually navigating the world a million times smoother. Inside the submarine is just some loot tables and some beds. Everything is just so sparse. Very little detail is put into anything in this game. The game looks best when you're walking around outside. The low poly aesthetic and draw distance looks great for that. What it doesn't look great for is when you're up close and personal with the polygons. The immersion tends to fall apart whenever you walk in a building. After taking a quick snooze on the submarine, we're back to wandering. It's darker now. Not horribly dark, but dark nonetheless. Using our binoculars to observe a zombie from a distance, we can see that bad posture might be a part of whatever virus has infected them. And with that, we've made it into day 2. There is no endgame objective in Ice Station Z. I suppose exploration could be the center of the gameplay, and that will take you a while, but not because there's much to see. The map, with all things considered, is not very impressive, and the only reason the world takes so long to explore is because everything is so sparsely placed. It's a good thing the atmosphere in this game is quite good, because if that were not the case, the filler moments from settlement to settlement would not be even remotely tolerable. Well, we finally found a gun in a little shack. This is a rifle, and should be pretty good at taking down zombies. I won't be using it for a while though, because upon walking outside, I have the opportunity to refuel a snow vehicle that looks kinda like a Sherp. Here's the mandatory cruising montage. Yep, you can get stuck on nothing. Hitboxes in this game are pretty whack. Anyways, we take a nap, and now we're back in the snow cruiser. And let me tell you something. You see those headlights? Yeah, they don't turn on. You're not allowed to turn on the headlights on the vehicle. What you have to do instead is hold up your flashlight inside the vehicle and use that as a headlight. Very intuitive. We run out of gas and carry on wandering on foot. We quickscope a zombie, and that's about all for day 2. Moving on to day 3, one of the first things we do is get absolutely swamped by 3 zombies at once. First one needs 2 shots to go down, then the second and third were too much to handle at once. We're pretty injured now, so there goes one large bandage to get all patched up. Now we're in a cabin, trying to get all cozy for the night. There's the stupid game on the bottom screen that you have to play to get a match lit, and here you can see me absolutely sucking at it. I do finally get it lit though, and our humble abode is blessed with heat. We also have a zombie at the window, which I take care of as swiftly as I can. And with that, we're on to day 4. As if the submarine wasn't enough, here's an even bigger boat sitting next to a rundown dock. I really would like to know the backstory behind all this. A zombie tries to stop us from making our way inside, but fails miserably. What's on the boat, you ask? Well, I'm not quite sure as I forgot to clip it. Close your eyes and imagine a low-poly environment with a can of tuna sitting on a bedside table. I'm pretty sure that's all that was in there. To make it up to you, here's a much less remarkable boat. At least this one actually goes somewhere. We embark on a great journey around the island. A great journey without much to look at, that is. Take it all in. As we begin running out of gas, we dock the boat by ramming it into the shore. The boat then proceeds to simply disappear. That's the end of our boat saga, for now at least. We find a house, play the stupid match game, and go to sleep. Very diverse and riveting gameplay. We wake up and wander once more into the great expanse, and with that we're on to day 5. We get in a bit of a scuffle where a zombie shows up and I click on my gun without any ammo. We're a little bruised up, but nothing a bandage can't fix. As if our prayers have been answered, the Lord sendeth us from heaven another small boat. This time we journey with a purpose. There's an oil rig just offshore that I want to make it to. I love the fog as the oil rig comes into view. It's one of the things I feel the game does well. Once we board the oil rig, it's business as usual. We do some sleeping, we do some looting, we find a knife that has this awesome animation. We explore the rig at night, looking for parts to repair the helicopter. Upon finding them, we go into a house, test out a flamethrower, and go to sleep so it can be brighter when we take the heli for a spin. At the break of dawn on day 6, we fly. This is the peak of the game, and it's all downhill from here. There really is no more substance to the game. I continued to play for a while, but it's nothing worth narration. This game, while cool, is more painful to see than anything else because it proves that a decent open-world survival game is possible on the 3DS. It just wasn't executed well here, and now we'll never get to see it done well. Depressing stuff. You may be wondering why I haven't talked about the multiplayer, so I'll do that a bit now. I don't have any footage of the multiplayer, but I remember it being weird. Weird because this is the only 3DS game, to my knowledge, to feature voice chat. There was actual voice chat in this game, and people were constantly talking. The community was very strange, though. I won't get too into it, but some of the people were just creepy, and some seemed very mentally questionable. I could honestly make a whole other video talking about the multiplayer in this game while it was still active, but I'll save it for another time. So yeah, that's Ice Station Z. I wish it was better, but I'm somewhat glad it exists. At its best, it's an ambitious and very atmospheric survival game on the 3DS. And at its worst, it's a glitchy, lazily constructed concoction of polygons and 3D assets a toddler could make. If you like this video, like the video, subscribe, and all that other stuff. Now if you don't mind, I'm going to get back to finishing my Fossil Fighters video. Have a good one.